This is Rock of Ages by Leppard, and before we actually get into learning the song, I'm going to teach you all the chords and tricks you're going to need to know to play it, kind of the tools behind what you're going to need to know to play the tune. Let's get started. So we'll start with the chords. The first chord you're going to need to know is an E chord, similar in sound to the open E chord that you may already know. And the way we're going to do this one is use our first finger on the second fret of the fourth string, our third finger on the fourth fret of the third string, and our pinky on the fifth fret of the second string. And we're only going to strum those three strings. Now this is a movable chord. In the song we're going to use it up on the 7th fret. You can probably see how I just moved my index finger here and my third and pinky relative to that up to the 7th fret. And we're also going to use it on the 5th fret. And that's going to happen in the bridge. For the intro, all you need to know is to play it here. Next we're going to have a D chord of sorts. It's not the D that you may be used to. It's almost like a partial D. And the way we do this one is we use the open 4th string, first finger on 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and second finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. So it's going to sound like this. Next up we have a power chord shape on the 2nd fret. This is actually a B chord, B note here, therefore B chord. Once again a movable shape. The way we form this one is using our first finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, third finger on the 4th fret of the 4th string, and pinky on the 4th fret of the 3rd string. And we're going to only strum those three notes. Next we have A, and we're only going to use three notes of the A chord, those being the 5th string, 4th string, and 3rd string. The way you do this one is you're going to use your first finger across both the 4th string and the 3rd string, both on the 2nd fret, and strum those along with the open 5th string. Next up, we're going to go back to our D chord here. We already know that. But for this one, we're only going to strum two strings. We'll call it the D 2-string version for this lesson. And we're going to move that up to the 4th fret at one part in the song. So we're going to use this configuration here and have it moved up to the 4th fret. There's two more chords you need to know. We're on the right track here. We're almost done. One is what I like to call the heavy metal E. And the way we're going to do that is really similar to the A. It's like the A shape we just learned, except we move our first finger over two strings so that it's covering the 2nd fret on the 5th string and the 2nd fret on the 4th string. And then we're going to throw in the open 6th string along with it. And lastly, our power chord shape we learned here, the B. We're going to move it up to the 7th fret to form an E chord. E note here, therefore E chord. And if you don't know your notes that well, Rock Guitar Power has a great video on how to learn the notes on the guitar. So you can use that as a reference. But for now, if you don't know them that well, just know it sounds like this when you put them on the 2nd fret. Sounds like this on the 7th. And there we go. There's all the chords you're going to need to know. Let's move on to the next set of techniques. Okay, here's where I'm going to give you a little bit of a close-up for the left hand on the chord you're going to need to know that we just covered, so that you can kind of see my fingers a little better. Basically, our first chord, the E variation 1 chord, this one is going to look like this close up. So we have first finger 2nd fret 4th string, third finger 4th fret 3rd string, and pinky on 5th fret 2nd string. Our second chord is going to look like this. That one is the one that was our D of sorts, our first finger on 2nd fret 3rd string and second finger 3rd fret 2nd string. Then we had our power chord here that we learned, which is index finger 2nd fret 5th string and 3rd and pinky working together on 4th frets of both the 4th string and 3rd strings. Then our kind of power chord A, which is first finger over 4th string and 3rd string, both on the 2nd fret, along with your open 5th string. So there we have those. Now for our little piece chords, this is the same as we saw earlier with the half D, except we only strum 2 strings, and then we move that up to the 4th fret. Same finger configuration, different fret. And as you might remember, this one is moved up to the 7th fret and 5th frets in the first part of the video. Same shape, different frets. And this power chord here is moved up to the 7th fret in the first part of the video where I explained the chords. Same shape, different fret. Okay, here we go. One last chord, the E, kind of power chord E. Real deep sound to that one. That's going to be your first finger over the 5th string and the 4th string, both on the 2nd fret, along with the open 6th string. So I hope this little close-up of my left hand has helped you get these chords if you're kind of a beginner. Hopefully it did, and we're going to move along now and learn the next part of the song. Okay, this is an interesting picking technique that's used in the intro to the song, and it's only used in the intro, it's not used anywhere else, where you pinch the strings so that you get them all simultaneously, as opposed to something like this. It sounds a little more abrasive. This sounds a little more clean. And that's for the part where they go like this. So you can see how I did that. I'm pinching the 4th string with my pick, and then I have my 2nd finger on the 3rd string and my 3rd finger on the 2nd string. Piece of cake, right? So just practice that one a little bit, and then you'll be ready to move on to the intro chords. Okay, here's where I'm going to give you a little bit of a close-up for the left hand on the chord you're going to need to know that we just covered, so that you can kind of see my fingers a little better. Basically, our first chord, the E variation 1 chord, this one is going to look like this close up. So we have first finger 2nd fret 4th string, 3rd finger 4th fret 3rd string, and pinky on 5th fret 2nd string. Our second chord is going to look like this. That one is the one that was our D of sorts, our first finger on 2nd fret 3rd string and second finger 3rd fret 2nd string. Then we had our power chord here that we learned, which is index finger 2nd fret 5th string and 3rd and pinky working together on 4th frets of both the 4th string and 3rd strings. Then our kind of power chord A, which is first finger over 4th string and 3rd string, both on the 2nd fret, along with your open 5th string. So there we have those. Now for our little piece chords, this is the same as we saw earlier with the half D, except we only strum 2 strings, and then then we move that up to the 4th fret. Same finger configuration, different fret. And as you might remember, this one is moved up to the 7th fret and 5th frets in the first part of the video. Same shape, different frets. And this power chord here is moved up to the 7th fret in the first part of the video where I explain the chords. Same shape, different fret. Okay, here we go. One last chord, the E, kind of power chord E. Real deep sound to that one. That's going to be your 1st finger over the 5th string and the 4th string, both on the 2nd fret, along with the open 6th string. So I hope this little close-up of my left hand has helped you get these chords if you're kind of a beginner. Hopefully it did, and we're going to move along now and learn the next part of the song. Here's the intro to the song. Okay, so there's the intro along with the music. Let's take it a little slower now. What we're going to do is use all the chords that we've learned so far and the kind of plucking technique that we used a little earlier, the string pinching one. And it's all going to start on the E chord. As you'll recall, it looks like this. And we're going to pluck that 5 times. I'm sorry, we're going to pluck that 4 times. I take that back. So we're going to do this one 4 times. Then we're going to move to our kind of half D shape here and do that twice. So what we have so far is this. Next we're going to move to our B, which is the power chord here on the 2nd fret. 4 of those, then 1A. And then we're going to use our kind of half D here that we looked at earlier in the chord changes, but we only pluck the 2 strings. 1 of those, move it up 2 frets to the 4th fret. 1 of those, and then an open E string. So let's go through that again so you can pick it up. We're going to go. And that's going to be that little pinched intro, the one that's kind of clean with just a little bit of chorus effect on it. You may have noticed that I do have a little bit of an effect on the guitar here to make it sound a little more like the recording. We did the chord lesson earlier nice and clean in tone because it's easier to hear the notes that way, but I want to make it sound a little bit more like the recording here, so I've added a little bit of an effect in there. That way it matches a little better. And after that, there's a little lick that goes like this. It goes by really quick. About that quick. And the way we handle that one is we start with our 2nd finger down here on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Pluck that note and slide it up to the 4th without plucking. Just like so. Then we're going to bring our 3rd finger to the 5th fret on the 2nd string. Move back to 2nd finger note here on 4th fret of 3rd string. And into 1st finger on 3rd fret of 2nd string. So the whole thing looks like this. And then after that, the heavy guitars come in, and it's pretty much the same riff that we just learned. Except now we're going to have some distortion on it, and we're going to pick the notes as opposed to using the pinch technique. I'll throw some distortion on it here so you can see what I mean. See how I'm picking the notes? Now, when they hit the distortion part, there's actually a slide in there and an extra pluck of the B chord here. So what we're going to look at here really slowly is going to go like this, just like before. slide from the 12th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these instead of 4. Then we finish it off the same way. And the way you do that slide is you start with your middle finger. I like to use the middle finger. You can use any finger you want, but I like to use my middle finger because it's our longest finger. And it seems to be easier to use that as a reference point to slide into other chords. You press down the 12th fret, then slide down the string without taking the pressure off with your finger. And here we're moving to the B chord. So by using our second finger, it leaves us open to prepare our first, third, and fourth fingers. So that whole riff again with the distortion. And then when the singing starts, you're going to mute the entire guitar using anything you want to do. The palm of your hand, your left hand, it doesn't matter. As long as you mute it very quickly when the singing begins, because there's no guitar past that point. And there we have it. There's the intro to the song. Let's move along to the bridge part of it. This is the bridge to Rock of Ages. Whole thing starts with our chord shape we learned a little bit earlier. That's actually the first chord of the song down in the second position. Here we move it up to the 7th fret. Then we move it down to the 5th. So what we have so far is this. Then we're going to move it back up to 7th, play it twice, then back to 5th once. So far we have this. One more time. Then we move to our E chord, which is a power chord shape that we learned earlier up on the 7th fret. And we're going to strum that along with the open 6th string right here. So the whole thing so far. Then we're going to move back to 5th fret with our original chord shape and pluck that, then slide it up to 7th. And that happens really fast. It's like this. And as soon as you hit that 7th fret note, you want to mute it right after you slide to it. So far what we have is this. And lastly, we're going to hit this 3 times, 7th fret, original chord shape, and then to our E chord power chord shape. Again, that's this 3 times. And there's our whole bridge riff. I'll play it through for you in its entirety a couple times. Here it is once more for you. So there we go, the bridge to the tune. Let's move along to the next section. The end of the bridge has a little build up here on our E chord. Not to be confused with this E chord, or this E chord that we learned earlier. This time we're using our lowest E chord. That's the one where we put our first finger over the 5th string and 4th string on the 2nd fret. And it kind of builds up Then we're going to use our second finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, and we're going to pluck that note twice. And we're also going to be preparing our 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string here. So we're going to have both fingers on the guitar to handle this one. And after we hit this twice,